I'm representing Access Bank, and I'm here with my CEO, Gilbert. He's here. And I have a question. As you were able to explain and show us all the pro, but anyway, it seems that you forgot the con, because I was really privileged maybe to go at Brandeis University in Boston, and I was really happy to take the class technical analysis, and I'm part of MTA. MTA is a Market Technician Association. And my question is this. Rwandese culture is different from American or other guys that have been starting this one for a very long time, and we don't take risk most of the time. We use cash most of the time, so it's even difficult for us. If you give us a credit card, it's going to be very difficult to manage. So having that culture of not taking credit, that is very minimum. And having not the culture of getting to know the kind of stock market and what is going on. You talk about bonds, it's not everybody that knows bonds. You talk about equity, it's not everybody. And we are really having big businessmen who didn't go maybe to school, but they have money. So how do you explain to them in a very simplified way on how to do a kind of stock pitch, so that they can understand the trend? How do you explain to them those kind of graphic? I was maybe privileged to know those graphic and try to analyze them, but it's not everybody, and trust me, it was very difficult. I spent night and night trying to understand how I can say something about the chart. As I'm here, I'm giving you a chart from my professor, Charles. It was difficult. In fact, I even had, for this very class, I had B while I was getting A. It was so frustrating and spending nights trying to understand. So how do you explain to average Rwandese how to understand and interpret it? How do you explain him all the patterns, all the triangle, all the trend, all the gap, and when to buy, when to sell, when to hold it? Very difficult. Trust me, it was very difficult. Okay, thank you.
I wasn't particularly good at it. Don't ask me what my grades were. But I didn't have that much interest in stocks, and I didn't have any idea what a stock was or what a bond was. And I got introduced to, actually he was a lifelong family friend. Most of the life I played ping pong with him, but my dad said one day, do you want to go visit? His name is Graham in his office. Oh, sure. And I walked into his office, and he worked on the trading floor of the TD Bank, Toronto Dominion Bank in Toronto. And there's about 1,000 traders sitting at desks, and they all had nice shirts on. And I had never owned a nice shirt. And I walked in and I said, I don't know what these people are doing, but I want to find out what they're doing. And the reason I say that is part of what it's an issue that there's really nothing to own or trade in volume today, so therefore the expertise level is going to be quite low. But what I have discovered is people in Rwanda are very entrepreneurial. They want to find out ways to make money, do business, create new businesses, and I would be willing to wager that if the first couple of IPOs do very well and a couple of brave souls buy it, they will invest a lot of time and understand exactly why they're buying it. And when it goes up and down, there's all kinds of reasons. People make a career out of just sort of explaining that, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. But then what will happen is their neighbors will see, hey, he just upgraded his car because he bought Bralira. What is a stock? And so actually what creates the demand is the result of having the capital market open. So I would have been very surprised if we would have come to meetings and people would have been able to explain to me a Fibonacci curve or some other things that really don't matter that much ultimately when you look at a stock. And stock analysis is really not that complicated, as the students can tell you. We went through finance last night. It's third grade math.
Money and get return on my money. What you do, what's the best time to buy? and what's the best time to sell.
But to get this return, you didn't actually need to know anything about an individual stock. You just had to accept the premise that emerging markets,
number of, or percentage of the population that's literate, amount of electricity, and that Rwanda doesn't qualify? Or does critical mass not matter?
it's a great question. Some of these other very, very rural-oriented economies have very low literacy rates. Things are improving, but it's not so much the critical mass there. Whether Indonesia's literacy rate is up 2 points or down 2 points is not as important to me as we manage, just for round numbers, $2 billion. If we buy a stock, we do a lot of work on it, we only have a certain amount of time to allocate to each of the positions in the portfolio. We would want to own a couple of percent or something. So that's a $40 million position. So for us, critical mass means I don't want to buy a whole company in Rwanda because I'm a public investor, I'm not a private investor. You all are private investors, you own your whole company. I just want to own a piece of it and benefit from the growth that you're driving. So I need a stock that has a $400 million market cap that's widely held. So for me, it's more about the individual businesses. To use the fiber optic example, if that company became the fiber optic backbone for all of East Africa and was doing $500 million a year in revenue and the market thought it was worth $1 billion, if that was the only stock listed on the Rwanda Stock Exchange and I was comfortable with the compliance regime and investor protections, I'd buy it. Yeah, and it's so, I think all of those indicators will come along with the growth in the economy, and you see, an explosion in literacy and various other factors, enrollments in engineering schools, and all the other patents that are being produced by the economy. But those are more correlated with what's causal, which for an investor is just to be able to invest in something that meets the risk-reward requirements of any individual.
Course with BDC. Now, I'm representing a Federation of Young Entrepreneurs and Leaders in Rwanda as the National Secretary General for Junior Chema International. But on the other hand, I'm also investing in companies offshore. Now, Olivier was telling us that his goal is to see that all Rwandans can invest in companies. And I'm looking at the statistics which was giving, whereby, for example, KCB, out of 90,000 shares, returned 15 million, and in the last 1 year, say over 1 year, the stocks which were selling at 160 moved to 182, which is a difference of 20. Now, I have two questions here, whereby how does one ensure that Rwandans raise capital to invest in companies? Because investing in companies is not something like you invest your money today and get a return, much as their dividends. You could wait even for 10 years, which means that you must raise capital today, which you'll expect to get probably growth in the stocks after 10 years. And I'm already looking at the lack of capital amongst young entrepreneurs, which is one of the challenges. How does one tell me or convince somebody who wants to invest that you can invest, yet the person does not know where he's going to get a capital? And what I know is that even the interest rate on, say, capital or liquid with banks is quite high in Rwanda. So I'm trying to figure out how the CMAC is going to achieve that goal and when, and what is the strategy to encourage especially young people or very active citizens or entrepreneurs to invest in this kind of business. And probably could share the experiences, say, in the States or other markets where you've been. Because what I know is, for example, we're in the region now, the East African Common Market protocol has taken place, and countries like Kenya and Uganda are way ahead. You were showing us South Africa, but I know around August, South Africa came third to Uganda and Kenya on the stock listings on the continent. Now, already those countries are far ahead, and some of us kind of probably got into the stock market by starting investing in those countries. Now, how, for example, if I'm to tell fellow Rwandans or through the CMs, the company, how do you convince them? That is my concern.